I kind of wonder, you talk about Peter Collins, who is an FSU guy. I mean, that is right. I mean, McCullough went to Texas and then Harvard, right? Alford was at I think graduated from UAB, but has been all over. I mean, this is a job to him, And so but I did have a little more faith that Peter Collins would, be enough of a Seminole and maybe he doesn't, maybe we give him a little bit too much of a, I don't know what the right word is. Maybe we give him too much of a
pass.
Well, not pass, but just we think he can do more than he can. Maybe that's the best way. I don't know what the right wording for that is because I just, you guys have watched this show for long enough. I'm not very smart. But maybe we give him too much like credit of thinking he can really change things. Maybe maybe it's like a 33, 33, 33. And then he is the chair of the board, but I mean, we will be fair. The rest of the board has a say too, even though Weatherford's on that, even though there are other people that are on the board. And so, yeah, I mean, I think ultimately it's frustrating because, like Alford and McCullough, like, do they care? Yes, in the sense of it's their legacy too that's being tarnished. Like, there are reports, and I've been told by fairly credible people that on sides that are not related to Florida State, that Alford has very much put his name in the hat for the Oklahoma opening, the LSU opening. Now, I haven't confirmed that beyond a shadow of a doubt. Alford hasn't told me that, and people that work at both those schools haven't told me that, but people connected to both schools have. And so, yeah, I mean, I also does that make it a little tougher for him to get a job if we continue to suck? Like, I mean, I do think they want us to win. They want us to be good. I don't think they're like plants, that like want the football team to be terrible. But yeah, like are you hiring, an AD that is suffering from what Florida State's suffering right now? If you're at a Power 2 school, I mean, probably not, the AD job has been open to several Power 2 schools, and I know of at least 3 that he tried to get and wasn't able to. And so, yeah, I mean, I think they want what's best, but yeah, maybe we give Peter Collins a little bit too much authority or thought in our mind that he can just change things. But I thought when the rubber met the road, I thought that he would be able to move on with things. I am not surprised at all with the result. Florida found something to be able to exploit you with, and they had the athletes to do it. Ultimately, NC State, though they did beat you by 10, that was a very, very competitive game. You had better athletes than them, and you shot yourself in the foot. Stanford, same thing. Competitive game. You had better athletes. Clemson, again, better athletes. They just showed you that they were just better than you, And so I'm not super surprised by any result. I wasn't surprised last night.
Same thing.
It was frustrating, though, that Florida was just doing the most simple things possible. And we refused as a staff. And maybe Terrence Knighton is checked out. Maybe Tony White is checked out. I don't necessarily want to see either one of those guys back. I think most of the team is checked out. Like, their effort looks pretty terrible. I just the way that Jaden Ball, and he's really good. I think he's a top 3 running back in the SEC. I wouldn't put him number 1, but I'd have him top 3. I think the kid at Missouri is really good. I think the kid at Ole Miss is really good. I'll get right back to the video, but first I want to give some love to Campus Course. Make sure that you check out their elite selection. I'm wearing a Campus Course shirt right now. They are fully customizable. They are great for anything. Out on the golf course, you've got a flight to go on, you're going to a game, you're watching at a bar with some buddies, or just hanging out at the house. Like, I'm at my house right now wearing a Campus Course shirt. Make sure that you use our code DFNS20. We'll get you 20% off of 1 item. DFNS25 will get you 25% off of 2 items. They've got the hat shirt combo on sale right now. Go check them out, campuscourse.com. Fully licensed, fully customizable. You won't be sad that you did. But he's way up there. And so just the way, and this is not uncommon for him, but the most frustrating thing about a guy that continues to run the ball 40 plus times is the fact that he always fell forward for 2 or 3 extra yards. Like, we never got them in a situation where it'd be 1st and 10 and he'd get 3 yards and then we'd tackle him and we would, instead of having some intestinal fortitude is maybe the best way to say it, having some gumption about yourself to where you can, keep him from driving you backwards, he'd fall forward for another 2 or 3 yards. And so it would turn a 2nd and 7 into a 2nd and 4 automatically. And that was just, they got 3 plays to go pick that up. They didn't normally need 3 plays to go pick that up. In fact, the one time you did get them to 4th and 1, your coach, defensive line coach, defensive coordinator, and head coach all share responsibility, could not get the right number of guys on the field. They would have gotten the first down anyway. It looked to me like the ref was going to spot it pretty close, if not giving them a first down, but he didn't even get a chance for a measurement because you're too stupid to be able to get the right number of people on the field. So just completely inept from top to bottom. It was good to see the Edwin Joseph interception. I really enjoy. I mean, if there was anything good to take away from the game, Tommy's effort once again is really, really good. I really like Danzy's effort on getting into the end zone. It was cool that Richie Leonard pushed him in. Fortunately for Richie, I think he's 0-4 in this game, being on the losing side twice. So that kind of sucks, but that was a cool moment. Getting it back to 17-14 was good. Going to the half, seeing the defense come out in the second half. I mean, when the defense came out in the second half and got 3 straight stops and we had just scored on 2 possessions to end the first half, I really did believe at that moment, not that we were just absolutely going to win, but it felt like, okay, they're going to be in this. They at least care about this game. And then from there on out, they obviously just, Florida scores, they go up 2 scores, and it felt like Florida State mailed it in. I was happy as you could be that you didn't quit all year, but it was frustrating to see you go into a place. And I watched the recap that Corey did. It was the team quit, and you kind of had Florida on the ropes of quitting too. I don't know if they'd have quit like Florida State did, but they did last week. They laid down and quit against Tennessee, which is another rival of theirs. And you had them on the ropes and a chance for them to go do that. And you couldn't take advantage of it just from mistakes and the 4th down. Mike Norvell feels like it's a high percentage play to go for it on 4th and 1. I was saying go for it at that moment, but in retrospect, yeah, your staff is not smart enough to go for it on 4th and 1. And let's be honest, Mike Norvell, like whatever instinct Mike Norvell thinks he has about a decision in a game, he should probably just do the opposite. There's a Seinfeld about that where George literally just does the opposite the entire time. And so he orders the different breakfast. He goes and talks to a pretty girl and would never have done that. And like his life just totally turns around. He gets a promotion at work and all this stuff. That's what Mike Norvell should be George Costanza, where he just literally does the opposite of what his gut is every time. And we'd probably have, we'd probably be 7-5 instead of 5-7. Not that that's good enough, but yeah, it was, frustrating from top to bottom. A good quarter. The second quarter was really good, but the coaches aren't good enough. The players aren't good enough. And, I think they were all just happy for the clock to hit 000s and be done with this year. And, congrats to us. We get to do it again next year.
Yeah, no, and going back to the fourth quarter calls and decision making, I say go for it on 4th down almost every time if you have confidence in your defense. I forget at what point in the game the second 4th down was, but it was hard to have confidence in the defense at that point. That
well, they just gotten a 3 and out with 2 sacks. So it wasn't, I kind of thought like, man, Florida's offense looks terrible. They've stopped them twice. So anyway, not to cut you off there, but I thought it was at a point where it did kind of make sense. And it was a yard. What are you doing, man?
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. If you have a problem with the specific play call on a 4th down in a situation like that, okay, I'll listen. But going for it in that situation, that's what all college coaches are doing, and I know some people, especially the older fans, they think about, analytics. No, it's not about analytics. A real coach knows what to do in the moment. No, analytics do matter. There's a reason, in the NBA, the most productive shot is the corner 3, right? Because that is the most points per shot per attempt, next to a dunk or a layup. So analytics do matter. And we're seeing that more and more in sports, and like it or not, that's where we're going. So I didn't have a problem with that. But yeah, it felt like in the second half, Florida State came out. They're like, okay, we finished strong. We held on because there was a minute there where you thought this could get dicey heading into halftime. And Florida State fought back and held on and did not let it get dicey. In fact, only down by 3. You knew you had to kick the ball off in the second half. But like you said, you got a 3 and out. And all of a sudden, okay, we're in this. It's like, I don't know if you watch UFC much. I guess boxing might be a better analogy. But, you get hit in the mouth a few times and you're like, okay, I'm good. And then you land a punch and then you just get hit with a whirlwind of shots and you just say, I'm done. Like, I don't want any more of this. And that's what it was. And the unfortunate thing, it wasn't like you were giving up a ton of explosive pass plays or anything. It was literally death by 1,000 paper cuts watching that game, especially towards the end of the second half, to where you knew if it was 3rd and 6, Florida's like, I can run the ball. Billy Gonzalez, credit to him, man. He realized the issue, the insufficiency in what Florida State was doing, and he made the most of it. And I would never thought I'd say credit Billy Gonzalez, but here we are. And thanks a lot, Mike Norvell, because you're the one making me do that.
The funniest stat to me is that, wow, there are a lot of funny stats, and Mike Norvell continues to set records. Now with not only Jaden Ball having the most rushing yards in a Florida State game ever, but also the fact that Florida State hasn't, it will have been 1,000 days that they have won a road game by the time they play another one. He's 2-0 against, or he has a winning record against Billy Napier at 2-1, and he has a losing record against interim head coaches. I believe he's 1-3. The one win coming against Kent State, the two losses coming against Florida, and 2-3. He did
Stanford
beat
had an interim.
Yeah,
no, Stanford had an interim.
He beat Virginia Tech, who had an interim, lost to Stanford and Florida twice, and then beat Kent State, who had an interim too. So congratulations on the 2-3 record, and 0-2 against UF with an interim. So Florida hadn't scored. What was, again, a lot of this was disheartening, and we can move off the game and go more big picture here in a minute, but Florida didn't score 30 points this year, Richie. They scored 55 against Long Island, but outside of that game, outside of an FCS opponent, they didn't score 30 against USF. They didn't score 30 against LSU, Texas, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Tennessee, a bunch of bad defenses, right? And I understand you wouldn't expect them to score 30 against Georgia and, LSU and others, but they didn't score 30 all year. And you let them put up 40 because you quit, right? And whether you quit or not, I mean, I didn't think they quit in the first half. And, Florida should have had more points than they did, if not having to settle for a field goal. And did they miss a field goal too at some point? I missed an extra point. They should have had more points than they did. We were pretty lucky in that regard that they didn't get up to 50. If not for a turnover, Florida State has 7 less points, and Florida probably goes down and scores again. They had scored on their first 3 drives, probably would have scored on that 4th one as well. So frustrating, just top to bottom. But ultimately this is what the admin was okay with, and this is what we're getting from the admin. Do check your text real quick when you get a quick second. Let me give some love to Campus Course, and then we'll move a little more big picture. But yeah, I think they quit, and it's just frustrating that that's the way it went down, because you had a chance to at least put some kind of happiness on the end of the regular season, and you just couldn't even think about doing that. Just before we get out of here, I do want to give some love to our friends over at Sleeper. All of our content is brought to you by Sleeper this year, so make sure that you are using our code DFNS to get a 100% match up to $100 on the Sleeper app.